How's it going, BG fam, or should I say GP fam? That's right, we have officially rebranded the channel, and this is the first official debut episode from Galactic Perspective. What better way to kick this off than with a Rankum video? This series is replacing the top 10/top 7 videos of old because let's face it, you don't always have 10 things to rank, and I don't want to have to keep changing the flippin' series name and confusing you on a galactic scale. This episode of Rankum will be ranking the greatest handheld consoles of all time. Now, not only is this the very first video of the newly christened channel, but is the very first episode that we will all be involved in. Every member of Galactic Perspective have a couple of picks on this list, and they will tell you exactly why they feel it should be on this list. We're going off sheer opinion, but we'll include factual information to get you to our thoughts on each handheld. So let's kick back, strap in, crack open those bottles of Yoo-Hoo, and let's prepare the countdown to blast off to a galaxy near you and crown the greatest handheld of all time.
Alright, coming in at number 10 on our handheld game systems of all time, the Sega Game Gear. The Sega Game Gear originally came out in 1990 in Japan, and then came to the US and Europe in 91. At the time, it was technologically superior to the Game Boy because it had full color backlight. The Sega Game Gear had the makings of being a great system. Unfortunately, that's why it falls short on our top 10 list. The battery life and then Sega not supporting it with original gaming content really hurt the system, and eventually Sega would abandon it. But overall, it was a really good system for the time period and paved a way for what Nintendo eventually would be successful at. So again, number 10, the Game Gear.
Alright, with the number 9 spot, we have the Nintendo 2DS, the new 2DS. I was actually really glad the 2DS made the list. I had a 3DS when it came out, and not knocking the 3DS. I'm just a more simple man. Prefer the 2D playing over the 3D. Kind of gave me a headache sometimes. I have the 2DS. This is the XL, so a little bit bigger and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just a more perfected version of the 2DS. Super easy to hold. I mean, good controls and stuff. I mean, like I said, sometimes simple is better, and making it easier is better. And I was glad that we ended up putting the 2DS in the top 10. So in the 9 spot, I ain't got a lot to say about it because it's simplistic, and I think that's what makes it really good. Still played everything, done everything you can do, just in 2D form. So instead of 3D. So I really like it. Glad to see it here.
Coming in number 8 on our list, we have the Game Boy Color. While it wasn't the first portable system to feature color graphics, that title goes to the likes of the Atari Lynx and the Sega Game Gear. Combined with the sales of the original Game Boy Color is still the third highest selling console of all time. A large part of its success is due to a popular franchise that began to emerge at the end of the 90s. If you were a 90s kid, you know what Pokemania means. And if you wanted to play Pokemon, you had to have a Game Boy or a Game Boy Color. Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, TCG, Pinball, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. If you wanted Pokemon, you had to have a Game Boy Color. No questions asked.
Okay guys, so coming in at number 7, the PS Vita. Arguably still one of the most powerful handhelds on the market at this point. So the only reason it falls on number 7 is PlayStation has basically abandoned it. There's a lack of good titles you can play on this system now, in my opinion. I think this has a lot to do with them focusing on the PS4 and just neglecting the Vita altogether. It's complete with 2 touchpads, one on the back, one on the front, and 2 analogs. And you could also do share play where you could play it on the TV, just like the Switch.
Coming in at number 6 on our list, we have the Switch Lite. While a lot of developers have tried to bridge the gap between home entertainment and portable, like the PS Vita and its remote play feature, or the Wii U and its quirky little gamepad, the Switch and its portable-only counterpart, the Switch Lite, were the first to try to bring the power of a home entertainment system to portable. And while they weren't as strong as the PS4 or the Xbox One, and they're definitely outclassed by their new next-gen competitors, they still have a lot to bring to the table. An ever-expanding catalog of great Nintendo titles, plus a plethora of AAA ports, like Doom Eternal, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and a personal favorite of mine, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
All right, rolling in at number 5, we have the Nintendo Game Boy, originally released in 1989. It released with games such as Super Mario Land, Tetris, Tetris being one of the biggest selling games of all time, over 35 million copies, I believe. At the time of the Game Boy's release, it was actually considered inferior to, say, the Game Gear, but Nintendo gave it a longer battery life. It was more durable and actually cheaper, so it far exceeded the expectations of Nintendo and actually everyone else. It's gone on to sell over 118 million copies. It is the third best-selling console of all time. It actually got inducted into the Toy National Hall of Fame back in 2009. So if that isn't a success and a reason to be on this list, I don't know what is.
Coming in at number 4 on our handheld game consoles of all time is the Nintendo DS Lite. The Nintendo DS Lite originally came out in 2006. It was a revamped model of the Nintendo DS. It was brighter, slimmer, more lightweight, and it had the ability to play both Nintendo DS and the Game Boy Advance games. This made it a really good system because of the fact that it was so lightweight and it was in such high demand. The Nintendo DS sold from 2006 to 2014, and in the process, Nintendo shipped over 93 million of these handhelds. That's why the Nintendo DS Lite comes in at number 4.
All right, we are at number 3, and on our list at number 3 we have the 3DS XL. And this system got put on our list because it was sort of a redemption for the 3DS that came out from Nintendo. If you guys have ever played a 3DS, the original, the screens are very small. Now a lot of people don't use the 3DS aspect on this one or the original. It's kind of, you watch it for some cutscenes and here and there in a game, but most people play with it off. I prefer it that way as well. The system, we put it on here for not only redemption quality, but as well as the size of the screen. The 90% bigger than the original 3DS. It had a great library of games. I believe there was 3 different Pokemon arcs on the 3DS. The eShop was a great place to shop. They had a ton of games. They really hit this one out of the park when they fixed their problems and came back with a great console. Can't wait for you guys to see number 1.
Coming in at number 2, the PSP. So for starters, the PSP was pretty revolutionary. It was the first handheld device to have the analog stick. It also can do 1080p. It was the first of its kind to be able to do that. And it's a multimedia device, so you can play movies or play games on this thing. Nintendo had zero competition at the beginning until Sony came into the mix in the handheld market. Another thing I'll mention before we head out to number 1 here, Sony actually offered a cord that you could play these on the TV with, which is pretty awesome for its time. I think the Switch drew a lot of inspiration from the PSP, if you ask me.
Before we get to the greatest handheld of all time, I'd like to cover a few honorable mentions. The Sega Nomad, a handheld gaming system ahead of its time. With this handheld, you literally had a Sega Genesis in the palm of your hands. It was just a little too early for this concept to really be something people loved. The Nintendo Wii U. Now granted, I know this is not a handheld device, it is a home console device, but the design laid the foundation to that which would follow with the Nintendo Switch. Speaking of the Nintendo Switch, that is my last honorable mention. While yes, the Nintendo Switch Lite is already on this list, but it would be foolish for us not to at least mention the original Nintendo Switch. The original was the perfect blend of home console and handheld gaming. But with it being a home console, we felt like it should not be on this list, which is why we included the Switch Lite instead. But now, let's go and crown the greatest handheld of all time with number 1.
Alright guys, the moment you've all been waiting for, the number 1 spot. It was a unanimous decision from the Galactic Perspective team. The Game Boy Advance SP, which actually stands for special. I learned that myself looking it up here just a little bit ago. Sold over 40 million copies, so this thing was ultra popular. Just so much more perfected over the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy. First system to come with a backlight, whether you had the front lit or the backlit version. You could play it at night, which I remember that just being totally awesome back in the day. Small enough to carry in your pocket. You could take it places. Even as a child, front pocket, back pocket, you could take it with you. I mean, it fits in the palm of my hand. So that was actually really cool, I remember. Me and Bizarro was talking the other day. The only things that we didn't like was, even though it was small, kind of uncomfortable to play at times, and then they were a little fragile. I know these hinges used to break a lot. So, but for those 2 minor defects, or little flaws, if you even want to call them that, if you took good care of it, they lasted forever. And I just really think that this paved the way for what handhelds are today, and shaped the future of what they are. And just the overall awesome handheld, very well deserving of number 1 spot, and this is where it needs to be.
That is our list of greatest handhelds of all time. Do you agree? What would your number 1 be? Let us know your perspective down in the comments section below. While you're at it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more of our galactic perspective. This has been the Bizarro of Galactic Perspective. Until next time.